even today when we're enlisting parents to be foster families, and if they think that I'm just going to love that kid and give them everything that I'd give my own kid, I'm going to rescue them. And they need to do that. But these kids have come from such a bad, hard background, a crisis situation, a traumatic situation, that we sometimes refer to them as broken children. And so they don't respond to things like we think they should respond.
Well, it's time for a new president to be introduced here on Mid-South Viewpoint. Hi, and welcome to our show today. We have the privilege of welcoming Greg McCoy, who's the newest president of the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home. He joins us. Greg, it's good to see you. You drove down to Memphis today. You were at Bellevue earlier for their pastor's luncheon.
That's correct. We had the Mid-South Association Pastors Conference that the TBCH, Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, hosted today. So we got to spend some time with those guys and share a program, and it's good to be with you today.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Mary Watson, who's a big listener to Bott Radio and a friend of mine, contacted me and mentioned that you were newly elected, or are you elected, or are you hired, or how do you get to be president of the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home?
It's much like a church. You know, the Board of Trustees put together a presidential search committee when Dr. Millsaps had announced his retirement. And so actually I came on board as president-elect at November of 2014. And so I've had the opportunity to work for 14 months prior to his retirement at the end of last year as president-elect. So January 1, I was president. They took away the elect off of there.
So you had a chance to kind of slide into this position, kind of, I guess, like a frog into a snake or something, huh?
That's it. Just ease me in there.
Ease right on in there, yeah.
Yeah, I served on the Board of Trustees for 12 years, beginning in the year 2000. So I was familiar with our ministry as far as from that standpoint. I wasn't totally new to that, but certainly new to being in the president's office is quite different.
What was it about? Of course, this is an organization that has been around, soon to celebrate 125 years. We're going to talk about that.
Yes, sir.
What was it with this particular organization that attracted you, that you said, and of course you've had this 14-month period that you've been serving with the organization, but
right.
Originally, what was it, Greg? Something about it that really intrigued you?
Well, I had certainly been aware of Tennessee Baptist Children's Homes pretty much as long as I can remember, growing up in Tennessee and being a part of a Tennessee Baptist church, hearing about the Mother's Day offering that's taken up for the children each year. But when I was started pastoring in Portland at First Baptist in Portland, Tennessee, Dr. Millsaps invited me to come on the board as a trustee. And so there, my passion for what we do, ministering to children in crisis, just began to really grow. My church was involved in that as we were going mission trips to some of our campuses. We'd spend time at the Bartlett campus, on our ranch in Millington, at the Chattanooga campus, day projects in Brentwood. So just having that knowledge and caring about what we do for children, seeing it firsthand as a pastor. I've actually seen some of the children in my own church need the ministry of the children's home. So all of that just kind of drew my heart toward it, and been very supportive in that way, even through the last 15, 16 years.
Growing up, I used to like to watch the Little Rascals, on television, and it seemed like, I don't know where their parents were. You never saw the parents, and they were always, running and doing all kinds of fun stuff. But there were some episodes you would catch, and there would be, this homeless child, or, you would really, your heart would go out to, in the way of maybe having to go to an orphanage, or I was thinking about who's the other little actress, Shirley Temple, who's played in a movie before about being an orphan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where orphans and orphanages were in that day is quite different than where we are today, because you said a couple of things that caught my attention. You said minister to children, which I know you would expect a children's home to do.
Right.
But you said minister to children in crises.
Right.
And, of course, a child without their parent is definitely in a crisis. But I think you're talking about a lot more situations that get quite involved sometimes.
Sure, we might have a true orphan in our care today, but by and large, they're orphaned by choice as far as parents choosing maybe drugs and alcohol over caring for their children. So we'll see children now coming out of situations where maybe they've been abused, maybe they've been molested, maybe they have been abandoned. Sometimes their parents are incarcerated. Sometimes they just grandparents raising a grandchild. We had, for instance, last year, a great-grandfather raising a 13-year-old great-granddaughter. Well, he didn't know what she was doing, and she was totally out of control. So he came to us, and we were able to take her into our residential program and try to help. So sometimes it's out of desperation, and sometimes parents actually say, you've got to have more structure. You're out of control. We often are sometimes the last stop before juvenile or before state custody. So that the reasons the child's on our campus are as different as the number of kids we have.
Now, how many campuses are there? Of course, there's one very close to us right now here in, I think, the Bartlett area.
Right.
But how many facilities, similar to what we see at the Baptist Children's Home in Bartlett, would be across the state of Tennessee?
We have 5 residential campuses. One of those, of course, is the Bartlett campus. We have a boys ranch not far from here in Millington, where we have a 250-acre working cattle ranch where we take care of just teenage boys. There's 24 boys on the ranch. We have a campus in Brentwood that's much like the Bartlett campus, and we have a campus in Chattanooga. And then we have a campus just for girls in Oakdale, which is in Morgan County on the other side of the Cumberland Plateau.
And about population, is it pretty equal in each facility, or?
It's a little bit different. Total, we'll have anywhere from 115 to 125, 30 kids at one time. The children sometimes stay in our care for years and sometimes for months. So the number fluctuates each week. I get a census number each Friday to know this how many kids we have and how many kids we have in foster care, because we do foster care across the state as well.
When you look at staffing for these facilities, again, of course, you mentioned a ranch. There might be some needs, I guess, that might be unique to one facility compared to another one, but on average, about how many staff would you have in each facility to minister to these 100, or so young people in the different facilities?
We're going to have the way we're set up is house parents. Gone are the days of Shirley Temple's being in an orphanage with 50 kids in bunk beds and one mom, one matron watching over them. Our children have house parents. So we hire a husband and wife. They can have 2 of their own children, and we give them 8 more. And so they live in a house with potentially 12 people. So on one campus, then, there will be, you'll have to have 3 sets of house parents to minister to 16 children, because they've got to have a week off. They work 2 weeks on and then get a week off. The kids transition to relief house parents, and then the other kids transition to relief house parents, and then relief parents get their week off. So it takes 3 couples to take care of 16 kids.
Yeah. What about adjustments? Of course, there's a lot of dynamic to what you just said there.
Yes, sir.
For the young people and of course the house parents. How do you work through those adjustments?
Well, that's the challenge, I think, and that's the people who do the hard work, and that's our house parents, our social workers on our campus, our leadership on the campus. They really, really do the hard work. The adjustments vary. Sometimes a kid is grateful to be there, and sometimes a kid's like, this is the last place on earth I want to be. Yeah. And so their behavior makes that a challenge at times, but our house parents work hard at loving them and giving them a structured environment.
I was talking to someone recently who adopted, not through the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, but another adoption-type situation. And, they felt because of where the children came from and the environment they came from, that they would just be so grateful, to be in this new, loving home. And yet there was some big adjustments to make,
It's even today when we're enlisting parents to be foster families, and if they think that I'm just going to love that kid and give them everything that I'd give my own kid, I'm going to rescue them. And they need to do that, But these kids have come from such a bad, hard background, a crisis situation, a traumatic situation, that we sometimes refer to them as broken children. And so they don't respond to things like we think they should respond. So they're going to lie, they're going to steal, they're going to maybe hoard food, all those behaviors that if you're not expecting some kind of trouble, you're going to be in for a big surprise.
Well, as I mentioned, Mary Wasson a moment ago, a very vital part for the whole organization of Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, specifically right here. I'm glad she's close to home for us because we get to see her more often, and she and I are Facebook friends too. But Mary, it's good to have you in today. You've been in before with Todd Pendergrass. I want to just go ahead and say Todd's here today. You just can't see him. We might turn the camera in a minute, let you see where Todd is, but we're glad to have Todd here and along for moral support today. But Mary, as we talk about supporting the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, in which you guys are a nonprofit organization. I mean, you don't take government subsidies to operate that I know of.
Right. I think that's one of the things that most people are so amazed by, to say that not only are we celebrating 125 years of being open, we're also celebrating 125 years of having no government support. We rely on Jesus Christ, and we rely on the churches. We rely on the individual donors, and it just shows the power of God at work. And that's why we have several offerings during the year that are very critical for the Tennessee Baptist Children's Homes.
And this Mother's Day offering that's coming up real soon here. Mother's Day is May 8th. May 8th?
Yes.
I got to remember that, okay? I've got my mom, plus I live with a mom too, so I got to take care of that. But this is an offering that represents about 33% of your annual budget. That's pretty big.
Yes, it's very important. And if you're a church out there and you're not involved.
And can we stop you right there for a second? I think it's important. And we've been saying Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, but in order to support what you guys do, you don't have to be a Baptist church, do you?
No. We don't ask a child, are you a Baptist or a Methodist before you come in. They're a child in crisis.
I just want to make that clear before we go on.
Thank you, Byron. Yes, any church out there that is looking, because I think we can all put ourselves in the shoes of being a mom. And these children need a mother. They need a mother all year long. And we encourage churches that some churches may say, well, we already have something on our books for Mother's Day. Well, we're not picky. You can select another date during the year because we celebrate Mother's Day all year long. And we have many materials that they can go online to TennesseeChildren.org and they can order supplies. So it's very professional for your church to see many statistics that are going on at the children's home. They have inserts that they can put in their bulletins as well as giving envelopes. So we have a lot of things that they can put out in their church to grow the excitement and build the awareness so that everyone can get involved.
And that's what it takes right there, is everybody getting involved, to support, what you guys do. Again, children coming from oftentimes some pretty messed up situations. Not all. We must emphasize, too, you probably get a mixture. Probably majority of your clients that come in, there to the home, I guess, do come from some very troubled situations that are definitely out of their control. And the Bible gives some real specific instruction to us to take care of two groups of people. Mm-hmm. And what groups are those, Mary?
The orphans and the widows.
That's right.
Yes.
And I was just thinking, too, about a mom who would like to take care of her children but can't, and I'm sure you run into situations like that, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We were actually listening to a story today at the pastor's conference that really touched me, and it was a young boy that was talking about he was being raised by his grandmother. And it was his grandmother and his mom that came to put him at one of the campuses. And the mom was getting ready to have to go into prison. And his dad's an alcoholic. So as I was listening to his story, one of the things that he said really struck me. And what he said is, I miss them. And I thought about that as us. We sometimes make a lot of bad mistakes in our lives. But Jesus, he loves us and he misses us and he wants to bring us back in. And sometimes we look at these kids and go, how could you miss that when we have all this that we can offer you? We can offer you a safe haven and we can teach you about the love of Jesus Christ and the forgiveness. but they still miss their family.
Yeah.
And, and God, He brings us in. And it was just a beautiful reminder for me that, when we fail, Jesus is right there to say, come back. He doesn't say, I'll give you the first chance or the second chance. He says, I'll just give you another chance. And there's children coming from so many different backgrounds.
Well, Greg, that really puts you guys in a great opportunity to, again, as I see, the children that are in this kind of need are very vulnerable, and they need a secure environment. And you, as an organization, Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, have been providing this type of environment now for 125 years, as you're going to be celebrating this year.
That's right.
Not many organizations can say they've been around for that long. That's a long time. There's got to be, pillars that the foundation's built upon. What would you say the pillars are for the children's home, and what has helped you guys to have the type of existence you've had for 125 years?
Well, I think we've tried to one of the things that we filter our decisions through is the phrase, what's in the best interest of the child. Mm-hmm. So as we make decisions about what we do with each child, we want to do what's in their best interest. And I think that is a driving force for us. Excellence is one of our core values. We want to do what we do with excellence as unto the Lord, not as unto men. But I think it's just the heart that generally people have for children. Georgia Eastman, 125 years ago, First Baptist Nashville, said we got to do something about these kids on the streets. And that is kind of the birthplace for what is now the Tennessee Baptist Children's Homes. And all through the years, Tennessee Baptists have gotten on board and said, this is worth doing. This is ministry worth doing. And so I think with our history of providing that care, seeing children come and go, and seeing eternal impact on kids makes us viable. The need that children have today is even greater. Yeah. We're seeing children that deal with stuff you and I never thought about as a kid. And so the need's not going away. It doesn't appear anytime soon. We would all love to work ourselves out of a job, but the children are going to be in need, and we're going to do our best to be there. And I think the Lord's going to continue to provide. He's done it this long, so we're trusting Him to do it.
The heart of that one individual, as you mentioned, Mr. Eastman, I believe you said?
Georgia Eastman, a lady.
Georgia Eastman.
That's right.
I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, a lady having that vision. It reminded me of the story of Dwight L. Moody in Chicago, because it was the street kids in Chicago that caught his attention,
right?
And he was broken over. And what was so sad at that time, Greg, is the fact that the church was not stepping up to the plate. Mm-hmm. And so he just offered himself, to hang out with these kids. And what now today is a worldwide ministry of the Moody Bible Church. That's how the church was founded upon. And so, the opportunity here to do something well in the name of Jesus and take care of the children that Christ wants us to take care of is what a privilege and really a responsibility of the church today.
Absolutely. And, we were talking even earlier today that the Lord never gave the responsibility to care for children in crisis or the widow or even the stranger. He never gave that responsibility to the state. He's given that to the church. And so we are trying to do our best to do what He instructs us to do, and it's take care of those that can't take care of themselves.
I realize that you are riding on the legacy, or coming in on the legacy of some great men and women who have labored and worked so hard to build the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home where it is today.
Yes, sir.
What do you feel like you're going to be able to bring this organization in the future? What vision do you have as you move into the future with this group?
That's a great question, one I'm asking, one I ask myself regularly right now. I do follow some great men who stood at the helm. In fact, I'm only the 7th president in 125 years, so we've got some long-term guys and that put their heart and their life into it. So right now, what I'm doing is praying for that vision. Lord, what do you want us to look like in 5 years? What's the best way for us to minister to today's children? And so right now, my staff and I have been talking that everything's on the table. To reevaluate, to see how we spend our money, to evaluate our campuses. Where are we being most effective? What is it that we need to do to be good stewards of the resources God has given us? So really no really good answer for a definite direction other than we'll keep doing what we do with excellence, but there may be some tweaks, maybe some changes. We're still fresh into foster care. That'll be one thing that we work at beefing up throughout the months to develop a more inclusive statewide foster care system, which we're working hard on that right now.
I like what you said too there, Greg, about listening to your staff. Those who are in the trenches and do the day to day. You know, I was talking to an actor the other day who's in this late movie out now called God's Not Dead 2, and he was telling me, the director of this film, he loved working on this film because he listened to the actors. It wasn't there was just a script and this is what we're going to do, but he took the feedback of those who had the experience and their acting ability to come together. And so
Sure.
You can really build a solid organization when you listen to your people and get their heartbeat. What they're going to do. So I really can appreciate and respect that answer. Now, I don't know about you. I am a horrible, horrible golfer. I like to take swings, but I just can't get my ball to. It doesn't want to go where I want it to go. Okay,
We could play together.
Well, we should play together. But you guys have something coming up, and I know it's a little bit later than where we are right now here in April on this program. But in September of this year, you have the Friday Champion for Children Golf Classic at Miramichi, which is really a world class, one of the best kept secrets golf places in our area. Formerly owned by Justin Timberlake, but the tradition of keeping that ground and the facility up to a first-class golf, course is still, their commitment there in Millington. But you're planning this golf tournament in September.
That's right. Mary is working hard on that and enlisting folks to sponsor that event. It's always a good time. It's a great way to have some fun and raise money for what we do, taking care of kids. So, yeah, that'll be fun. I just go show up, and whatever team I get stuck on, they're like, why did you give us this guy? We've got to look for his ball everywhere we go.
Okay, Mary, so people like myself that maybe aren't the best golfer, but we really believe in the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home and want to come out and support you. Sponsorship and come out and play golf, what should we know?
Yeah, absolutely. It will be held Friday, September 30th at Miramichi. And just so people will know, for some of the people out there that have always wanted to play at Miramichi, Golf Digest just ranked Miramichi as the #1 public golf course in Tennessee. So it's a great course. It's always kept so beautifully. And people can sponsor a hole, and we'll have their hole sponsor signs out there. There's so many different ways you can sponsor, but we need players. So if you even just like to play golf, please sign up. You can go to our website, and you can find the Champions for Children Golf Classic, and you can sign up and get involved.
What's that website?
TennesseeChildren.org.
TennesseeChildren.org. And all the information is there. Of course, you do need sponsors per the hole. That's big. But we need some golfers out there.
That's right. Yeah, we definitely. And I changed the date this year, so we're playing on a Friday. In the past, we've always played on a Monday. So if you think you can get off work a little bit early on Friday, you can start checking in around 11:30, and we'll tee off at 1 o'clock.
Now, I said guys. Now, this is not limited to guys. Ladies are welcome to come out and golf, too.
Absolutely. We had a girl a couple years ago that their team won first flight, so they were very good.
Well, Greg, I don't know how we're going to do on the golf course, but, hey, again, it's for a great cause.
It'll be fun. It'll do good.
As you travel, and of course, as the president, I know one of your responsibilities is to go from east to west Tennessee. Tell me the sentiment of what you're sensing from the churches and those who have been giving and supporting the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home for all these years.
Everywhere we go, we see people who are positive about what we do. We try to share a kid story or two everywhere we go, to whatever church we might be preaching in or sharing in, or community group, whatever it is. We try to share a story. If we can't have a kid go and be there, we try to share a kid's story. And that speaks to people. But we find folks are appreciative of the ministry. And so we're finding In fact, Todd has been asking that question all across the state, and Mary and Teresa in East Tennessee, all of our associations, they're asking, what's the perception of Tennessee Baptist Children's Homes? And we've had some say, hey, they'll give to you before they pay the light bill, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. But we want to be on every church's radar in some form or fashion. And so this 125th year, we've asked churches that haven't given us anything in the last few years, would you give us $125 this year, just in honor of the 125th anniversary, and give $125 for a kid?
Well, we're called to support, mission and ministry as followers of Christ, and we want to support those work. But it makes you feel good when you're giving to an organization that has the type of track record that Tennessee Baptist Children's Home has for 125 years. You guys have laid the foundation. You've proven yourself. And,
right.
In a day where sometimes you wonder where your money's going, you're knowing that the dollars you give are helping to resource a great organization like the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home.
Sure. Upwards of over 75% of the money we take in actually is program money, goes toward taking care of kids. So we have a good record. We're not a flash in the pan. We're going to be here for the long haul to take care of kids.
Greg, we're about to wrap up on our program here, but you mentioned, can we say success stories? I mean,
sure.
Stories where you have seen maybe, children, it might be not just one individual, it might be brothers and sisters together, but you really have seen transformation. Maybe they have come from just the most horrendous, horrible situation, and today maybe, where are they today? Tell me what's going on in the success of the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home.
Well, we've seen 10 children this year, since January 1, pray to receive Christ as their Savior. So that's always a success for us. We've seen at least half a dozen children reunified with their families, which if it's possible, we want to reunify the family. I met a police officer in Brentwood who was a former resident of the Children's Home campus in Brentwood, and now he's a police officer in Brentwood, and he will say, the Children's Home gave me all the opportunity in the world. And so when we find guys, and Todd and Mary are good at that, they find people out there who used to live on our campus, maybe we didn't even know about it, but now they are successful and contributing, good citizens in their communities, living for the Lord. That's a success story.
Salvation, because that's where it's really at. I mean, we see these individual children understanding the grace and love of Jesus and what He did for them, and the forever family He wants to call them into.
Exactly. Yeah.
What a great! And then the bringing families back together. That's a big thing too. But
Yes,
then
sir.
seeing where our individuals are actually contributing back to society. Oftentimes, orphans or children with troubled family situations get a bad rap, and they do so because they don't have the support that the children from the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home have.
Right.
Another great reason to support you guys.
Yes, sir. We'll help a child go through college, learn a trade. If they'll stay with us, we'll help them until they're on their own, functioning well as a good citizen of wherever they live. But our house parents are intentional about sharing Jesus with these children, and they do a super job. And we want to make an eternal difference, not just temporary. And Jesus is the way that happens.
Wow, what a gift that you guys are offering our whole community. I mean, all over the state of Tennessee, what you're offering, I appreciate that. As we say our final words right now, how can our listeners pray for Greg McCoy?
Well, just when you pray for me, pray for vision, for leadership ability, for my heart to be toward the Lord and therefore toward His kids. But really, I would want you to push your prayers to those folks that's doing the work on the campus, the house parents, the kids themselves, social workers, those folks that are really doing the hands-on with kids. We would appreciate those prayers very much.
Wow, we appreciate you. Again, the website to go to get more information about the Mother's Day offering, about the celebration of 125 years for the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, for the golf tournament in September, go to the website, which is, Greg, one more time.
TennesseeChildren.org. Spell it out. Tennessee, long way. Spell it out. TennesseeChildren.org.
Okay, well, check our spelling on that too, but you should find it easily there on the website. Thank you, my dear brother, for what you're doing for Christ's Kingdom. Mary, too, is in the studio with us. Thank you. And back in the corner, I don't know, can we just go? We kind of flash the camera back over there. Let me bring him into focus there. Todd Pendergrass. Hey, Todd. But anyway, we've got a whole nice room full here today with the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home. That's all the time we have on this edition of Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.